What a great day to be an Eagle. One more time for the greatest team in America.
Well, Eagle Nation, Georgia Southern's back at it this week as they head up to Boone, North Carolina to take on App State. It is deeper than hate week. I mean, they're gonna head up there, Cody. As far as I know, they will be flying or busing. The players are. The coaches are too, at least in body, maybe not in spirit or in intelligence, but yes. They'll be going up there, coming off of a bye week, 3-5 overall, 1-3 in Sunbelt play after a 34-24 loss to Arkansas State on the road, adding to the abysmal road record under Clay Helton. Now coming off of a bye week, 1-7 now, coming out of a bye, playing arch rival, playing in inclement weather possibly, or at least cold conditions. Maybe, I don't know, I haven't looked at the forecast, but it's that time of year. And yeah, midweek game, which we haven't played well in.
And on national TV for at least a few customers.
Yeah, exactly. Cody and I both have YouTube TV, so they're going through the whole ESPN dispute, and yeah,
we haven't played well on what live TV or national TV and
anything. Yeah,
anything.
Yeah, it's definitely not the broadcast fault, but yeah, I mean things aren't looking good, Cody. We had said last time we recorded before that Arkansas State game that had we won that game, obviously gives a little bit of new life, not for division title or conference hopes or anything like that, but at least like
bowl game,
for a bowl game and for some momentum to close out the season strong. Now, I mean, at 3 wins overall, 1-3 in the Sun Belt. Yeah, I mean, bowl game looks like a pipe dream.
Yeah, it looks like it does. You're talking about having 3 wins in the last 4 games, with 2 of those games being on the road. 2 of probably the hardest places to play in the conference at Boone and then up in Marshall. On top of that, you're also having to play Coastal, who seems to be surging right now at home, as well as ODU, who seem to get themselves back on track with a convincing win over ULM this past weekend. So, look, if we, especially with the defense, if we continue to play as poorly as we played the first 8 games, the next 4 games are not going to go well for us at all. And if we wanted any shot of a bowl, we needed to win against Arkansas State. That didn't happen. I hope we can. I think really, to me, that this App State game is really the last hoorah game for us to kind of rally around. I think if we win that, it's fantastic. We get 4-5, and maybe we can. Maybe we can get on a roll and try to finagle something, but it does not look good.
Because we do have two home games.
We do have 2 home games, but it just does not look good in terms of, the defense has played poor. We give up another game where they give up 30-something points. We had another game in which we let a lead kind of slip away from us that we jumped out.
Almost 500 yards of total offense, too.
Yeah,
for Arkansas State.
Again, there's not much for us to talk about in the positive sense, and about this football program and where it's headed. Really, and I'll just be honest with y'all and with Matt. To me, it's just a wait and see thing to the end of the year. Obviously, there's not going to be any changes with the coaching staff. I think that's been pretty clear at this point. Whether that is
in season, in season,
whether that is acceptable to the fan base or not, that's to each their own. But that seems to be the direction that Helton is leading this, that there are going to be no in-season changes. I will say this, though. It was nice to finally hear Chris Davis speak at the last Hell Southern radio show.
And not just speak, but actually like
legit comment and
show give actual commentary realism. And some frustration and some realism around like, hey, we get it, like we hear you, things aren't going well, we see that, I see that, I know people aren't happy, I'm not happy, right? So
that's the first step, that which is the appropriate words and communication. I wish he would do more of that. I think that would help, at least in terms of some of the fan base's anger or visceral reactions to kind of simmer that down a little bit, especially towards him since he just newly got the job.
It's like the 7-step program, right? It's
Yeah.
like the first step is to admit that you have a problem,
Yes.
and our head coach has yet to admit that there's a problem.
To admit that, yeah. And so I would like to see more communication from his office. It doesn't have to be like a daily thing, but it would be nice to hear more than what he's prior to the Hail Southern, which was literally nothing. But next is action, right? Words only mean what your actions show. And so if there's no actions to back up, well, then again, that's going to be an issue. We'll see how this offseason plays out. It's going to be an interesting offseason. I think if changes aren't made within the first hour of the game being over, the last game being over, folks are going to want heads to roll. So, no, Matt, I think to me as a fan, not that I'm not excited about these last 4 games, but
you're not excited.
Really,
I'm
not excited as the past 3
and
it's
or 4
okay.
Years. It's okay. We're gonna be watching. We're like Cody will be there for the final 2 games. Yeah. He's a season ticket holder. I'll be watching every game on TV. Cody will be watching this one on TV and the Marshall game. We're not giving up on the team or on the season or even the coaching staff. Like, we're going to continue to be fans, but it is okay to admit that, like, hey, this sucks. We're not having fun. We're not having a good time. And we're not excited about anything because they haven't given us anything to be excited about. There's zero optimism. There's zero just, forward thinking of just being. And
there's not even optimism to me, really. Like, you have the first signing period coming up in 6 weeks, 4, 5, 6, or 5, 6, 7 weeks now. I don't really hear much excitement to that. I don't hear really much excitement going into the offseason, the last month of the season, for obvious reasons. It's just I think we're all just collectively waiting for what will the next steps be in terms of the coaching staff.
Well, you have rumors, right? To players, like,
yes.
You've got injuries. I get it. We had
injury, and
got bit by the injury bug.
Everybody gets bit by it.
Everybody does. I get it. I'm not using that as an excuse whatsoever. I'm just saying we've had a lot of injuries. Also, some of those injuries to our star players, like a Josh Dallas, like a Chance Gamble. And, in this time, I think it was since the Arkansas State game, one of the news happenings that occurred was, Josh Aubrey, beat writer for the team, put out, a pretty I would say controversial for him tweet, because usually he's very objective, right? And doesn't really give kind of buy into the rumors and stuff. So that's when when he does hey, take notice. And he basically said those guys that I named, as well as a couple others, probably have played their last game in a Georgia Southern uniform. And he said it's not because of injuries, right? Which means they're taking NIL money, they're going elsewhere and entering the transfer portal at the end of the season, possibly even earlier. Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I like Josh Aubrey in his coverage of the team. I'm not going to discount what he said. I think if he's saying that on X, then that means he's either heard it from somebody close to the program or from somebody close to the player. But to me, as a fan, we'll wait until there's actually official word from that player, whether that's at the end of the season or
yeah, sure. I guess what I'm saying is, again, with the stockpile of things not going our way, lack of excitement, like you said, there's nothing really to hang our hat on in recruiting. There's also not a whole lot of positives to hang our hat on with returning players either.
Why would there be? I mean, seriously thinking about it, you had a season where the expectations were high. Most folks had us picked to be second. Some folks had us picked to be first out of the East. Even compete and win the Sun Belt. And those expectations have long been gone and nowhere close. And to me, it's a colossal failure of this season.
Yeah.
So where's the hope? Where's the excitement for not just, players, but for the fans in terms of what does the future look like? And with there being no real sort of communication about what that is, besides that I still entrust my coordinators with play calling, which shows a lack of at least a perception of a lack of what the issues are. There's no, it just does not excite
Yeah.
that for the future.
And for those who don't know
yeah.
what we're talking about, if you haven't been paying close attention, and why would you? Because again, it's been really disappointing about Cody and I. You know,
we try.
And yeah, I think the other kind of notable news item over the kind of the bye week was, there wasn't the Monday presser, after the Arkansas State game, but I guess in the post game presser is what it was, or the Sun Belt call, conference call. Is Josh Aubrey again, I believe, asked, he always, it's the only one that asked like hard questions and just said like, hey, are you happy with the coordinators and the job they're doing and their play calling? And Helton basically said yes, that I'm confident in them and that have full trust and they're doing a great job. Right.
This is where I don't want the media trained answer as a fan. It provides nothing. It helps with nothing. And it shows a perception that you don't know what the issues are. Everybody and their mom who has paid attention to the season can clearly see what the issues are with this football program.
Yeah. Well, the stats don't lie. I mean, again, the defense is statistically the worst defense in the country, and you say they're doing a great job, it makes you look like an imbecile that doesn't know what he's talking about.
Exactly.
And I honestly don't think that's the case. I think Helton is for the most part an intelligent guy. I think he understands optics. I mean, he worked in LA, for a blue blood program in USC. I mean, they have way more media that asks way harder questions than Josh Aubrey or anyone we can throw at him. And so but at some point you have to break the coach speak. And again, when you have mounting evidence in front of you of we're statistically the worst defense in the country, and then you get up in front of a mic or on a conference phone call and say, I trust my coordinators, they're doing a good job, it makes you look like an idiot, and you're lying to everybody. You're lying to yourself because you know that's not the case, and you don't have to like call them out by name and say Brandon Bailey is the worst defensive coordinator in the country. No. You don't have to say that. You can just say statistically our defense isn't getting it done. We know this. Everybody knows this. I'm disappointed with it. The defensive coordinator's disappointed with it. The defensive staff is disappointed with it. We are working diligently to try to fix and correct the problem for the remaining games, and we will address things at the end of this year based on the body of work, something like that. You don't even have to go into that level of detail for that second half, but just say like, look, we see the evidence, we know that it's not working, and we're not happy with it. Again, you don't have to throw anybody under the bus. If you're going to throw anybody under the bus at that point, as I said countless times on this podcast, throw yourself under the bus as a head coach and say the buck stops with me. He's not going to do that. He's clearly, never going to do that. Then treat it as like a whole staff thing. Look, defense isn't getting it done. I mean, offense really isn't either, if we're being honest. Consistently.
Not consistently at all.
So anyway, welcome to Gotta Talk. Before we go too far, I'm Matt. That's Cody. We thank you to our sponsors, Can Cut Tools, title sponsor, Premium Drill Bits and Cutting Tools. Andy Thompson is the owner and operator there. It's a Georgia small business. He is a Georgia Southern alumni. I know he's taking these losses just as hard as we are.
Really, Andy? I thought he'd be okay with some of this.
Yeah. No, he is not.
From what a few conversations I've had with Andy, I'm surprised.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, no, he's not going on any podcast saying that Clay Helton might be better than Eric Russell. Let's just say that. It's not that Andy Thompson,
man.
So we think Can Cut Tools. You can go check them out at cancut.com. That's KNKUT.com. Premium Drill Bits and Cutting Tools. We also like to thank Section 103, our secondary sponsor. Go check them out at section103.com. It's apparel. for multiple schools now. I think they've already added one or two more.
Yeah, I think so.
Since the last time. Kennesaw State added, I want to say maybe one more, but Georgia Tech, LSU's on there, but whole Georgia Southern collection, hats, t-shirts, hoodies, you name it, for men, women, and children. You could save 10% using code GATATALK. That's GATATALK at checkout. Save 10%, and yeah, go give them a shot at section1.com. But yeah, Cody, I guess it's a good conversation. We've talked a lot about.
This is a depressing conversation.
Well, it's a depressing conversation, but it's one we need to have as far.
Okay.
We've talked extensively, right, about the whole accountability thing.
Yes.
But one of the things that I brought up to you as we typically do and kind of chat things out before we record is like, how did this happen? Right? Like how, because I mean, obviously you and I were wrong. So many other people were wrong. The peers, Clay Helton's peers in the Sunbelt Conference were wrong, who all voted us, second overall, some multiple first place votes, I believe, for being first in the East by JMU, Phil Steele, all these national pundits, all this, drank the Kool-Aid as well. Fourth year, got the extension, momentum, 8-4 last year, couple plays away from playing for a Sunbelt championship. That
bringing back the quarterback.
Yeah, bringing back the quarterback, bringing back the coordinators for what it's worth. Yeah, multiple offensive linemen, offensive stars. Getting some key defensive transfers too, right? Like Harrington and things like that. So, what went wrong?
So I think there were some issues that were glossed over in terms of yard per play that weren't picked up on, right? It kind of got lost in the points per game that if you look at last year's, right, in conference, if you look at the points per game, it looks like we're pretty good, but I think yard per play was pretty bad still. If you look at those numbers, a lot of folks try to write it off on just playing Ole Miss and Boise State last year. I don't know, Matt. That's really the best guess that I got, outside of the fact that we just have bad coordinators and that it finally showed, right? It's 2 years now with Applin at the offensive realm. This is the third year with Bailey. I guess it's just catching up to us. And you had a lot of staff turnover, right? You had a new defensive line coach. So maybe that's a lot of
strength and conditioning.
I don't think, okay, so I may break away with a lot of folks here. I'm not really upset at the strength and conditioning coach. I think he's probably pretty good. I'm more
based on what?
Based on, I think there's other aspects to consider. I think the defensive line coach is a completely step down. You look at that. You look at, we had to replace our linebackers coach as well this year, who I think we replaced with like a analyst out of Texas A&M. You look at, I think Bailey and Stratford, who was it? Darius Stratford is the only two defensive coaches that we had come back. A new special teams coach. I think the offensive line coach stayed the same. I think the offensive staff, stayed the same for the most part. Just trying to go off the top of my head here in terms of offensive changes, but I don't know, Matt. I really don't know where we went wrong. I would say probably, I don't know. I think it has to do with that we have a very young coaching staff, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and we just get outplayed and outwitted by the opposing offenses.
I think that goes back to strength and conditioning. I'm not putting it all on him, right? But I mean, he's been, like, we talked about the injuries. Every team faces it. Yes, I don't have the numbers to support it, but it definitely seems like we've been more injured more often, especially key players than like other teams, in the conference and elsewhere.
But not last year, right? Was last year a bad year?
I think last year wasn't not as bad as this year. I want to say the Bryn year was really bad.
But he wasn't here for that year.
He was not. No, but it builds on itself, right? I mean, just like coordinators and stuff, like, I mean, that's a year over year thing where you're, conditioning in the off season, and then you're seeing the fruits of that labor, a season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons in the future.
Does it look like the team, when watching it on TV, because it's really hard when I'm watching it on at the stadium where we're at, does it look like we're physically manhandled, or does
Yes.
it look like we're out schemed?
Both, but like at times I would say physically manhandled, and not just when we're playing USC. I would say that like, against JMU we were physically manhandled. At times against Arkansas State we were, Southern Miss we were. Yeah, I mean there's bad angles, there's poor fundamentals, bad tackling on defense. Like I get all that stuff. No, that doesn't fall on the S&C coach, but like we look tired in the second half,
Would
yeah,
it just
guys
make
look.
the fan base feel better if we just got a new strength and conditioning coach?
No, if that was the only. No, of course not. Of course not. I'm just
Like, no,
saying it's
no,
a
no, I'm saying,
component. Yeah.
what I'm saying is that is there really anything you can look at criteria-wise to put on the strength and conditioning coach? Or is it mainly just we just need to get somebody new in here to make the fan base feel better outside of also the other coaching changes that need to be made?
No, like we don't need like vanity hires and fires. We need like solutions brought in.
Yeah.
And again, like I'm using my eyes to see that the team looks physically inept against the majority of our opponents.
Which is crazy because a big argument for that indoor practice facility is that it's supposed to save the body in terms of the production for later on in the year, right? You're not supposed to lose as much muscle mass or water weight and et cetera. And now you're sitting here saying that it looks like we're getting physically
Well,
manhandled.
we have a nutritionist now that's been there
Yeah.
through Helton's entire tenure, and it's like that's been the big knock that I've seen from a lot of fans, not specifically against the S&C coach, just against Helton and kind of the teams that he fields. Dating back to his time at USC, he doesn't field very physical football teams. I know physical's in the mantra, right? Like tough and
Yeah.
physical, whatever, but disciplined. They're not disciplined. Penalties are rampant. Boneheaded plays with penalties are rampant. But yeah, I would say we've not been playing physical football. And what I get frustrated at is like people immediately associate that with like offensive scheme. And
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous because you could be a physical pass happy team, you could be a physical run happy team, you could be a physical balanced team.
Yeah. Yeah.
But historically, regardless of the offense that he runs, including on defense, his teams just haven't been very physical. That was a knock on him again at USC. Is a knock on him now.
Yeah.
He's had a bunch of he's had what 3 different strength and conditioning coaches here.
Two.
Sure,
This is the second one.
this is just the second one. I thought
Yeah.
we had one that was like a one and done. Okay,
No.
all right,
The first guy was here for the first 2 years, and then he's at
okay,
Vandy now is
Yep.
where he's at. And then this is the second strength and conditioning.
yeah.
And this
Which
is the
they're a
second
physical team. I mean, yeah. I mean, just look. I mean, I get it, 8-4, but like now you're starting to see that kind of like trickle down effect of
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So
He was at Buffalo before. He was at 4 seasons at Buffalo
I feel
where Bailey
like
came from.
we're coming up on a podcast in which we're gonna have to apologize to USC fans.
Yeah. We probably already owe them an apology because we were oblivious and just like we're blind and
Yeah.
naive.
They tried to warn us.
They did try to warn us. Yeah.
And so look,
That's my biggest knock. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's all on James Heist, the strength and conditioning coach, or on Bailey, or on like it's just the team. The team, yes, Bailey should take a lot of it, but like I don't know if just getting rid of the coordinators or certainly one coordinator and let's throw in the strength and conditioning coach. I don't know. I don't think that's going to solve everything because like I think the core problem is at the very top. And that's the thing that
so you're at the point now where I think I would probably say a good half of our fan base is, if not
more than half, yeah.
is to just start anew, just cut ties with everybody.
I
and
just
be
don't
done with it.
I was, a couple games ago after the James Madison game, after the out of conference play schedule, going 2-2, getting embarrassed at USC, losing at Fresno State. Like after that, after those first 5 games, I was with the hope that if we can just make some changes, mainly with the coordinators, fix the defense,
Yeah.
address that there's a problem, bring in, think out of the box hire, not someone who's an alum, not someone under the Helton tree, like go get a really good defensive coordinator, FCS level, or whatever you have to do. I was holding on to hope that like, okay, this season, probably a wash, will be between 6 and 8 wins again. Again, after the first 5, between 6 and 8 wins again, won't win the division, but make a bowl game, maybe win it. And then if we can bring in the right coordinator, revamp the defense, bring that from one of the worst in the country to even like top 90, between like 70 and 90, honestly, and then improve on offense a little bit, we can be a very competitive team next year. I'm at the point now, I've seen enough. I don't know. I'm not saying it won't help, but I think you just have to cut the leg off and move on. I mean, like that's kind of where I'm at right now. Now, obviously, there's budget concerns. Like I know there's all the stuff circulating that
Is there?
Clack,
Is there?
that
Is there?
yeah, I know Clack, posted that's again another. It was an eventful week and a half, right?
Yeah.
Of the bye week. So after the Arkansas State, fairly quickly after the Arkansas State loss, Clack got on Twitter and did, not even a FOIA request. It was just he just dug
Just
into the
public.
publicly
Yeah.
available records and to see how much budget we actually have. And supposedly there is an available surplus of $8 million sitting there. Now you don't know like what that's actually earmarked for and how accurate and up to date that is. It's government stuff, so who knows.
Yeah.
But the general narrative that we had been like hearing, and I honestly think it's just a fan base like speculating on it. It's not like Davis has come out and been like, we don't have the money, like
Yeah.
like Kleinline used to do, right? Like Kleinline used to just say like, we can't do this because we're poor. He would just say that. We never heard that from Banco. We never heard that from Davis. And yeah, supposedly the money is there. Not saying that it's like a financially responsible decision. And it would be around, between $3 and $4 million to move on from Helton and staff.
Yeah.
So you're cutting that in half. Now, of course, we're bringing in revenue. Like since I'm sure, doing that, you would get some people that would jump on board and throw some money in the ring for that next hire and to make up for the buyout and all that. If we show action, if we show that, hey, this is unacceptable, we're admitting that mistake and moving on. But yeah, so supposedly the money is there. I look at it as like, look, like I might have enough money in my bank account to like buy a Ferrari. That doesn't mean I should, like that doesn't
True.
mean it's a financially responsible decision.
True.
Or I, have a good enough credit score and a good enough job and a good enough all these things to like, get a loan on $1 million house.
I look at it more like there's a problem with your roof of your house or your apartment, right? And eventually you're going to have to get it fixed. All right. It may take a lot of money to get it fixed now, but if you wait later to better conditions, or it may be a little bit cheaper later on for whatever reason, but it may cause long-term damage to your house if you wait later instead of going ahead and putting up a big chunk of it now.
Or
right?
a foundational issue or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you do patchwork job, it's $1,000 here, $1,000 here instead of $30,000 for the new roof or whatever. Yeah.
So to me, it's not a decision that I envy for Davis, right? It's not something that I wish that I was making a decision on, but it is going to be what happens within the next or the first week or two after the season's over with is going to be very pivotal for the next 2 seasons of our football program, especially if there's a certain coach that wants to come back and there's the opportunity to bring him back.
That was the other, as we're talking through it, it was a very eventful weekend. So there was another rumor that was circulating that was like, again, just a rumor. The rumor was verified by several well-in-the-know fans.
Yes.
But no media or anything like that or the source himself. But Jeff Monken supposedly wants to come back to Statesboro. Now, obviously, he helped usher us into that. He helped usher us out of the Van Gorder and Hatcher mess from the air raid to the
Yes.
option, made us an immediate contender in the FCS, beat Florida his final season, has been at
Final
Army
game.
ever since, final game, and has been at Army ever since. One of their winningest head coaches, very, very hard place to win at, made them, contender, won the American last year, 8-0. Got him ranked. Supposedly he wants to go back. Now, if you haven't heard this, like you're probably thinking what I think we all were thinking was,
Yeah.
one, is that true? Two, why would he want to do that? Right? Because he's supposedly making somewhere around $2 million a year. So you're going to be cutting that in half at best, coming coming to us.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Well, I to me, there's a couple reasons. I don't think at West Point they're allowed to use NIL for recruiting.
They're not.
So in
They
theory,
also can't do. I think they technically can do transfer portal.
I don't
now
think they
through. It's harder. It's
Yeah.
way harder.
But you're having to have a kid commit to West Point and then to the Army for 4 years after that. I mean, that's a pretty hard commitment.
I was saying more out than in, but yeah, they're still more traditional of high school, get in and yeah, you're committing for almost a decade, right? So yeah.
But yeah, I would say that the type of recruiting wise, it's probably easier to get athletes to commit to Georgia Southern than it is to Army. You have NIL, that would be a little bit better of a situation down here in Statesboro than it would be at West Point. Also, too, you wouldn't have to be competing against the American Conference year in and year out. I don't think, at least right now, you can say the Sun Belt's probably a down year for the conference, right? There's really only 2-3 teams that look to be decent right now. Really 2, to be honest with you. Everybody else has serious flaws. Some more than others, but they have some flaws. He's familiar with the area. I think he still has a vacation home in the area. I think, where would you like to try to recruit at, right? You don't have to leave, a 200-300 mile radius to recruit the players that you need. He's already had success here. I don't know. There's a lot of benefits to it outside of just the
It's not like a true homecoming though, right? Because he's not from Georgia. He didn't play here. It's not like a Rich Rodriguez thing. So it's interesting. I understand that he cherishes his time that he had here, and obviously he was at Tech too, under Johnson, and so he's familiar with the state certainly, and yeah, I didn't even know about the vacation home, but that helps. But yeah, he has no ties to the school other than being a former coach. So, that I know of, but yeah, so it's just interesting because usually you hear that nostalgia thing of a coach wanting to return to his alma mater or to return to a place that he was at for a decade plus, which wasn't the case here, so yeah.
Yeah, I think you and I had talked about this through text. I think you brought up a pretty good point that it would be another way to prove, in case he wanted to go to a Power 4 job, to come here. You don't have to run the triple option the way that he ran.
I don't think he would. So that's the other thing there is when people hear that and you're like, oh no, we're going to return the triple option, we're just going to revert back. No, I would be honestly upset if we did. I honestly would. I think that would be a step in the wrong direction. I would love to see us be a balanced offense, right, or a run first offense,
just
clock possession,
effective offense.
Yeah, a physical offense. Yeah. A physical, efficient, effective offense. I like the clock possession game more than I like the up-tempo stuff. Personally, that does not mean that we have to run out of the flex bone, right? And I watched the Army and Air Force game where they won on a last-second field goal, and they still run some flex, and now again that's at the Service Academy. But they run a lot of pistol, and they even run some shotgun sets, and it's still option principles and stuff, but a bunch of other teams are running that too. Vandy's running that, and you see what they've been able to do.
Tech's running.
So, yeah, Tech's running it. Yeah, exactly. So a QB kind of driven, option RPO offense out of pistol would be great. And again, that doesn't mean that we throw for less than 1,000 yards in a season or only attempt 10 passes in a game. And yeah, I think it would be somewhat of a proving ground for him. And if it works, frankly, because he doesn't have those ties to the school, he's probably only here for 2 or 3 seasons. And honestly, that's okay. Like if he came down and we turned things around and we went from whatever our record's going to be this year and being mediocre the years before that, and he wins the East Division or wins a conference title year one, like Fritz did, or like the success, like I think he won 10 games his first year in 2010.
Yeah, but that's a little misleading because
Yeah.
a few of those were from the playoffs run that he had. But yeah, that first year he started off, I think it was like 4-4, and then we won like the next 6 games before we lost in the semifinals to Delaware, which was the eventual team that won the championship that year, I believe.
I think so. Joe Flacco, I think, was the quarterback. Maybe.
No, Joe Flacco was a little
that
earlier.
before? That was earlier.
And that was before.
Anyway, but the point is if he has instant success, he's probably not here long, right? We know he's interviewed with other FBS programs, I believe other Power 4 programs in the past, and never got anywhere.
Because the big issue is that he's a flex bone guy, and that he, I think even if he's tried to state that he would run a different system, until you see that, I don't think bigger programs are going to get past what they see at Army.
Yeah, which my thing there is like, just go hire a good head football coach.
Yeah.
And I think Jeff Monken is a good head football coach. You talk about like that CEO, you talk about a guy that's going to accept accountability, right? That's going to,
and he already knows the expectations of the fan base and what it's about. You talk about toughness from players. Some of the toughest teams that you ever saw were Jeff Monken's teams.
They were.
I think
recruiting too.
I was about to say, one of our other followers on X has pointed out the amount of NFL talent that came through that was recruited by Monken. You look at J.J. Wilcox, you look at Matt Breida. I even think Younghoe Koo was a Monken recruit.
He was. Allison.
Yeah, did Allison make it to the NFL?
No, he didn't. I don't know if he
ever played for a season or two.
But still, just a great, right? I mean,
exactly. Yeah. There's somebody
McKinnon.
else that's Jared McKinnon. Yeah, one of the
Super Bowl champ.
Yeah,
two-time Super Bowl champ. Like,
so, and a lot of those players that you see in the Ted Smith building were Monken recruits.
It's true. We've had more in the 3-4 seasons under Monken.
Yeah,
than we probably have
since
as an FBS team.
Yeah,
at least notable guys like yeah.
So no, I look. You won't get any argument from me about bringing him back home at all.
Same.
But I don't know. It's that would be an interesting thing to see how that plays out. But again, I think this is a weird part of being in this situation as fans, is that I don't want to say this month of November is like a wasted month, because I don't think it is. I think there's plenty of things to watch and cheer for, like for Camden Brown to continue to make his mark on his touchdown record. But
when it comes to results, Cody, that's the hard question, right? And I've thought about this, and I, like let's just say it, right? Like, because I think we're all thinking is like, like where do we go from here? I asked the question of like, how did this happen? Where do we go from here? Not of like, do we get rid of a coordinator or two at the end of the year, or do we get rid of the head coach? With the final games, do the results of those games matter? Like a win and loss, but also like how we win and lose. Does it matter at this point?
I think for one coordinator, no. I don't care if we go 4-0. I think we need to have a completely different change of attitude. And
I agree with that. But for head coach, like not that.
Yes.
Not that I'm advocating to root for us to lose out, right? So we have no choice but to move on. From Helton. I'm not wanting that. Because I don't want us to lose, but like, it's
I would say this: if we go like 3-4 or 4-0 in November with as bad as that we played, I would say that if we do that, then Helton is probably still here at the end of the season. easily. If we somehow make it at 6-6 or 7-5. I think if we go 0-4 and we're like 3-9 at that point,
3-9, yeah.
I think it's a very hard.
Or if we get to like realistically, and we said this even before Arkansas State, we're probably like a 5-win team,
Yeah,
right? So if we're like 5-7, is that
that's the gray area. I think we're
because
5 and
then you throw out
7.
all the excuses of, well, we're going to move on from
Yeah.
the defensive coordinator. We
I
had
think
all
if
these
it-
injuries.
Yeah,
we
I
had
think if
close
it's 5 and
games.
7, it's a little bit. It's a grayer issue. I think if we go like 0-4, 1-3, and we're 4-8, 3-9, I think it becomes pretty obvious what Chris Davis has to do at that point. But if we finish at 5-7, I think it becomes very gray.
That's great.
And
That'd be 2-2 in the final.
yeah, 2-2 in the final month.
I think it depends on,
Especially if one of those 2 wins is against App. Now, if we lose to
Yeah.
App, then that kind of sways it a little bit
he
more.
has a good record he has a winning record against App, winning record against Georgia State.
I think if he was to beat App on Thursday, that would put him 6-2 record against Georgia State and App State in 4 years, which is probably the best record we've had against those two rivals.
First time we would have won in Boone since 2019.
Yeah, since 2019.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that's eluded him, I think, so far here is beating App and Boone, but he's only had 21 and 23. No, he didn't do it 21.
20.
So 20, so 23. So that was his only opportunity. So that's sort of the last thing for him to accomplish in the rivalry is to beat App at Boone. But no, that's a great thing to point out. I think if he beats App, I think it gets a lot grayer. I think if he loses to App and it's 1-3 and we're 4-8, I don't know how Chris Davis doesn't move on from the entire.
Yeah. Especially if it's like an embarrassing loss. If they just,
Yes.
because I mean, App's not good this year. We're probably we're probably worse, and it's a hard place to play. It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen. But like, yeah, if we go up there and it's, I forget what it was when we just got absolutely destroyed. Was that 23?
Yes, that was 20. Well, we got destroyed in 23, and we got destroyed in 21 too.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, and that was under Whitley and stuff at that point.
Yeah.
I think. And yeah, so like, yeah, if we get beat, 56-14 or something, I think.
Yeah,
that's a bad luck versus if it's a close loss, or
even if it's a win. I mean, if we win,
period.
I think it. Yeah. No, that's interesting to see. I didn't really think about that in terms of these next.
I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm sure others have too.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Arkansas State game, it's like, again, before Arkansas State, conference was out the window. Even before Southern Miss, conference was out the window. Honestly, after losing to James Madison, I think conference was out the window. And that was the first conference game. But
yeah,
honestly, like, and that alone,
not
right?
just because we lost. I think it was because of just how bad we lost to them and how poorly we played against them,
and how good they looked, and knowing that it would take them to lose 2 games and us not to lose another one, and that just wasn't going to happen. So like that, I mean, our dreams were shot and shattered literally in the after the first conference game.
Yes.
So to me, it's just kind of like, what are we doing? Like, that was the point of the season. The point of the season
Correct.
was year 4, and we finally get over the hump, and we win a division title, and we get a spot in the game and championship game and a shot at winning it. That was it, and it was crushed in week 5. And so to me, it's just like, we're just going through the motions. It's like, to what? To maybe finish 6-6, or by some miracle 7-5, or before Arkansas State by some miracle like 8-4 again. Like it's like delaying the inevitable. I think you like kind of said it to begin with, and it's like, if we I don't know. Yeah.
No. I think in terms of what we're playing for, I think for the players, it spots, position yourself for next year, or transfer portal, position yourself to add the best film available for your next opportunity. Um, for the coaching staff, it's for their jobs, man. Like it's for resumes. It's for what you can show. I think there's a lot on the individual side to play for. Team wise, overall team wise, it just does not look like many of the goals that we had at the beginning of the season are left to even
Mm-mm.
attain. Besides going to a bowl, but even that looks pretty dim at this point.
And you would think for Helton, right? I get it that he got the 5-year extension, and we reported that he got it every year. So maybe he's just safe and content, and is like, look, I'm just going to go through the motions and whatever. But you'd think that there'd be some motivation to like prove that you can win, because you'd think that there's some you know dream still out there of getting back to the quote unquote big time, right? To get back
I
to
you
Power
would
Four.
you would think, and I would think that there probably still is, but maybe he's also like, in order for me to kind of right this ship, I'm gonna have to make some hard decisions at the end of the year, and I just have to get to the end of the year, and then I can make those decisions to turn it around.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, because
Like I
there's
said,
there's so many
the more that I think
mid-season
of,
firings.
yeah, there is a lot of midseason firings, especially in a lot of the Power Four conferences right now. And he's probably like really kicking himself. Like, man, if I'd have done really good this year,
Florida,
I would
yeah.
have been, probably hired at one of these. But I'll be honest with you, I think that's gonna kind of be a lot of the new normal, right? Like you'll have your 6 or 7, openings, I think just about every year in some of these Power Four conferences. But I don't know. I think part of it is I think he quickly understood what he had after probably Fresno State, just like a lot of us did, and realized we're probably in a lot of what. But he also understood that he probably couldn't really make any in season changes himself without handicapping his coaching staff and players even more.
Do
Sorry.
do do you think that those mid-season firings happening, and like I could hear people like yelling at us because I'm not advocating for this, but it happened with Helton, right? Like he got fired after 2 games
Yeah.
of the 21 season. Banco inherited Chad Lunsford. Bunch of things were going wrong, not just the record in the locker room, player discipline, accountability, all the stuff. But like rumor has it is that he wanted to bring in his own guy, like most he's want to.
Yep.
And he kind of targeted, in cold Clay Helton, seeing that he was available, and was like, "Hey, let's take the shot in the dark here." Do you think that still happens? Like you have these guys like Napier. Again, I'm not advocating for these guys, so don't yell at me. But like you have these guys like Napier, you have these guys like Hugh Freeze now get fired at Auburn, that's had success at group of 5 programs. Napier having, winning 2 Sun Belt championships at Louisiana. You've got a Florida State's coach, which I think still has his job for
Yeah, I
now.
think he does.
But, he had a lot of success in Memphis. So like, does any of that come into play of like, hey, these guys are available, and like, should we just like rip the Band-Aid off and move on from our guy and
I
like
mean,
go after one of these?
I think probably most ADs have a list of head coaches that they would like to hire on them at all times or on their desk at all times. And I'm sure that if one of those coaches is on Chris Davis's list, I'm sure that has maybe enticed him a little bit. But I don't know who's fired who would be enticing enough to change gears, right? I don't know. I guess it just depends on if you like any of the coaches that gotten fired, if you have been impressed with them at past stops and just felt like they had a
I mean, I
bad
think
go of
Nate.
it.
I'm not on the train. Like I'm not on the hype train, but I could see Napier. Like I know it didn't obviously work out at Florida.
Yeah.
He had some good wins there, but he had a ton of success. Right, you got like Neil Brown, who had a ton of success at. I don't even know what he's doing now. Had a ton of success at Troy. He got fired at West Virginia last year. So yeah, I mean, you've got these former, I mean, heck, even guy that used to be at ODU that he's at Tennessee Tech now, and
Yeah.
they're undefeated, or they were. I don't know what they did this past weekend, but they were 8-0.
Gotcha.
And so He's made them into a ranked FCS powerhouse and had mixed results at Old Dominion, won a lot with them when they were SC.
So was that the guy that we beat 2 years in a row?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I don't know. No,
I'm not advocating for him either. I'm just saying there's options out there that have coached in this conference before, that know the footprint, that know the recruiting areas, that it's like, hey, yeah, this is like a perfect marriage if this happened,
It makes sense. I mean, it does. I don't think if you were to go full coaching, change, I think you would have plenty of options to choose from, whether you go with a former coach or whether you go with a P4 coach that was recently fired that you think could have success if they came back to this conference, or if you wanted to go try to find a successful FCS coach and bring them up to this level. I just think, to me, that I would just like for there to be some sort of legit, thorough interview process that actually feels like we bring. I think we've missed on just about every coach since Monken or since Fritz, really.
Fritz.
Right. So, what has happened since hiring, I guess, Tyson Summers and the Fritz fiasco?
I mean, heck, we missed on every head coach between Johnson and Monken too.
Well, Seawalk, look, I think Seawalk gets a bad rap. He won 70% of his games.
Yeah, that's true.
And there was a lot of, I think, politics in there that led to that firing. And so I think Seawalk really gets a bad rap from the fan base. I think he won 65, 70%. I think his offenses was some of the best offenses that we had. But no, and then again, you look at that all started the Van Gorder situation and Hatcher, then Monken. But no, I just would like us to just honestly just go through a legit interview process of trying to find a coach, not just somebody who we think will stay here for a decade. That didn't work with Tyson Summers, nor did it work with Chad Lunsford. No. I don't want some popular name that all the country knows who it is.
Splashy hire.
Splashy hire. No. Look, if
I want another Fritz. I mean, again,
if you have an FCS coach, if you have an FCS coach that has won 75% of all the games that they were head coaching from, that turned around multiple programs, that could recruit or knows the area or has been familiar with Georgia football, high school football, that person should probably be at the top of the list of whatever, and bring them in multiple times and talk to them.
Fritz had none of that. Fritz had no connection. He wasn't connected to the Irk tree or the Johnson tree or anybody.
But he had several years of successful.
He won everywhere he had been at. He won at Sam Houston. He won at 2 Division IIs, I think, before that, and he turned teams around.
Yeah,
they were all. He left them better than he found them. But I mean, Kansas guy, I think, and spent a lot of time in Texas. No ties to Georgia. So I think that helps, and I think it definitely should
look at JMU. And I hate to be using JMU as an example, but their last 2 hires with Coach Singetti, he was at Elon for a couple years, and they brought him up there. Turned out to be a pretty good hire. Their next coaching hire was a successful guy from Holy Cross. So their last 2 coaching hires have come from Elon and Holy Cross. Coaches there that took those programs and made them consistent winners. And look at the success that they've had for the last, 4 or 5 years. And I'm sure, and obviously prior to that too, because they've been dominant for the last 20 years. But they obviously have a formula they use. They don't go after splashy hires. They go after proven coaches who have won, who are eager and hungry to continue to prove themselves. That seems like a pretty good formula to follow. Monken was a young coach who was eager to prove himself.
Fritz position coach, not a coordinator.
Yeah. Fritz he wasn't young, but he was definitely eager to prove himself and take the next step
He was
up.
Signetti. So Fritz was our Signetti.
Yes.
And then,
and
Monken,
he's still doing well. I mean,
Monken was kind of our Bob Chesney, but Bob Chesney, of course, was head coach at Holy Cross.
Yeah.
Monken was just a B-backs coach at Georgia Tech. But it's not just FCS or bust. We're not just saying that. We're certainly not saying that it's flex bone, triple option or bust. But, look at John Summerall, right? He first time coaching, first time head coach at Troy, was defensive coordinator at Kentucky, had success at Kentucky, but I wouldn't say was like a renown. Otherwise, he would have been getting a bunch of P4 offers then, So
Yes.
like, but they saw something in him and they were like, let's go get this guy. And they didn't have him for long, but he won 2 championships and then Tulane. And then now he's probably going to be at one of these P4 jobs next year.
Probably
likely.
so. But again, are you getting somebody that's eager enough to want to succeed and go forward? I just think that we've really to me the most eager coach that we've had that wanted us to actually win football games has been Chad Lunsford, right?
Recently, you're saying?
Yeah, recently. Yeah, recently. In the last 3 hires, at least it looked like he cared and that he really wanted to make sure that this program.
He cared. Yeah.
Summers, I thought, was completely inept for the job, obviously from the get-go.
He was, yeah.
And then Clay, Coach Helton seems to be just kind of go with the flow and just like we're
okay being between 6 and 8 wins. Yeah.
Yes. And it's just there's no sense of urgency.
We're selling out games. We've got record crowds, record fundraising. Yes. Everything's fine.
Yeah, no, it's not fine. We would have a lot more people in those crowds if we were, 9-0. 10-0.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think it's just a lazy excuse because I've seen that they're like, well, look at the record fundraising, look at how many people are coming to Paulson. It's because we've got 35,000 students between like all the campuses, and we've got like and alumni are getting older and making more money and like willing to donate regardless of like the record. Like it's not. I'm not saying like. I think Benko did a lot there. I think that was the best thing that he brought to the university was his fundraising efforts, and that's his bread and butter. But I don't credit Helton with that. I don't credit Helton with like packing out Paulson. I mean, Lunsford did a good job of that, of like rallying, like he was like genuine about it, right? And like, I hear that as an excuse on the other side, and I just don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't either. Just I don't know.
It's not sustainable either. Like, I mean, it's if we get embarrassed in Boone, very, very few people are going to be there.
Yeah, I don't know how the last 2 games are going to be at home. Yeah. All that to say is that hiring a head coach is a very difficult thing to do, and that there's certain things that metrics I don't think can really capture in terms of what you want to see in your head coach. But you just sort of know it when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I don't know if the people who are hiring have understand that. But
I would hope they would have learned their lesson from this. I've said I would hope. I've said many times this is the first time we've ever done this, right? Fritz, no one knew who he was. Like they really didn't. I mean, I remember a bunch of people were like, "Who's this guy?" Monken was. I think there was familiarity there because he had coached at Georgia Southern as position coach. He's from the Johnson tree. We were all over, the bubble screens and all of that of Hatcher. It's like, okay, he can come and maybe rectify this program, but still not a well-known name. And that's how it was all, dating back to Irk, right? And he was only big really in kind of the SEC country, right? Not like really a national name, I wouldn't say. Not taking anything away from him. Great defensive coordinator, won national championship, junkyard dog defense, all that. I get it. But it wasn't, I mean, there's a reason he came to us and not went somewhere else. So Helton was, again, it was the splashiest hire we've ever made, period, of just name recognition and resume. It was. I would hope that they would learn that lesson that that's not good enough to just magic wand and make everything, and be successful.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. So I just hate this feeling as a fan of just having to wait and see. Like it really, it's just not a good place. Because what are we waiting to see for? Waiting to see how much more worse you can get? Or waiting to see, do we somehow have this crazy November and, it's justifiable to have everybody back?
And see, and that's on it. That's what I was kind of getting at earlier. Is like, again, I don't want us to lose, but that might be the worst case scenario. like that might be the worst case scenario is that we somehow win their last 4 games, go 4-0, even 3-1, like you said, but like one of those is being Nap, and yeah, like going 3-1 or 4-0, making a bowl game, maybe winning the bowl game this time, and then they're like, you know what, we figured it out. Let's just keep everything the same. That would be the worst case scenario. So it's like
I will that if that happened. Every podcast episode that we did until the first game of next year would be nothing about just do not believe any of the hype. This is gonna be
absolutely not. Yeah, if we don't have changes, because like I mean, look, you said time and time again, like the defense is what it is. It's not changing, people. Like if it hasn't improved by now, so like I'm not saying we can't find a way to go 3-1 or maybe even 4-0. By some miracle we might. It's going to be just in spite of the defense. It just is.
Yeah. And
You
I
know.
don't have enough confidence in the offense for that to happen either.
I don't personally, but like again, I just want to. I don't think anyone is under this like
Yeah. No.
idea that the defense could turn around. If they were going to turn around, they would have already. So yeah.
And again, I just I think we need to regardless of what we need to do, we need to go out and find the best coordinators that we can find.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, and then go from there. But we'll see what happens and how it plays out. I feel like this is going to kind of be, quick recap. Like, I think for us, how are we going to keep this sort of fresh for the next month of doing these episodes besides just these?
I don't know. I mean, if we win a game, like if we beat App, we can obviously like talk more about that game.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about the Arkansas State game at all, which is fine. I think the only thing
I think we all know what it was. It was a hard start. We all got excited.
Yeah.
Defense never showed up, hardly at all. Offense sputtered.
3 points in the second half.
We got
clock management in the second.
Management was terrible.
And the final drive was horrendous.
Yeah, completely horrendous. It got us out of any sort of position to come back in the game. You could say the kicking the field goal from the 3-yard line was an absolutely, completely wrong decision.
We had the ball on the 13 with almost 6 minutes left. And
yes,
we ended up with a field goal on the 3.
Let's not throw the ball. Let's just run it, because we did
the math. 10 passing attempts in the second half of that game. Only 10 passing attempts, 14 in the first half. JC French was 12 of 14 for like 150 yards in the first half.
Yes.
Only had like 50, 60 yards and 10 pass attempts in the second half.
It's insane. We're not going to continue to do what's been successful. We're going to just do something else. And just not have football IQ. Anyways, you start talking about the game, we gotta start getting mad as all get out.
We'll get mad. Well, no, I think that covers the highlights of it. I mean, we can talk briefly about Apps. I mean, look, again, they're not a good football team this year. New coaching staff. We know that. They're 4-4. They're fifth in the Sun Belt right now.
2 of their wins are against one of the worst teams in college football with Charlotte.
Yes.
And then one of the worst FCS teams in. Doesn't even sound like it should be a college that has a football program. But what is it? Lindenwood?
Yeah,
something like that. It does not.
They're 1-3 in the Sun Belt, which was Georgia State.
Georgia State.
Yeah, they beat Georgia State 41-20.
Okay, so roughly our score.
They lost to Coastal, which we haven't played yet, 45-37. Then they lost to Old Dominion 24-21. So they played Old Dominion close. That was on the road in Norfolk. But yeah, they're on a 2-game losing streak. And they beat Oregon State. Oregon State's terrible this year. They did host Oregon State. So that was their little feather in their cap. I believe the fans rushed the field of that just because, Oregon State used to be a thing, but not anymore. Bless you.
Thank you.
You're good. But yeah, so I would say somewhat evenly matched, but coming off of a bye week.
National TV.
On the road.
Yep.
Rivalry game, weather possibly, and then just our terrible defense. And I think all of those things.
Yeah. And I really got a question at this point, just how how motivated are we to win this game right now? I mean, we were pretty motivated to beat Georgia State. I'll give them credit to that. But now that you've lost the
I would
Arkansas
hope the
State game,
players would be. I think that's definitely something to look for. If you
yeah,
don't have like fight and juice and hype and all that in this game, if we just look like we're kind of going through the motions, or even if we like lose it at some point in the game, certainly if we
yeah,
don't have it to start, that I think is really telling about just the motivation of this team,
yeah,
period. And that again ultimately falls on the coaching staff. But like if you can't with you know being a 3-5 team playing a 4-4 team, if you can't get up for this game, like you're not going to get up for any of the other three.
yeah,
You're just not. Like this is like this is one that you circle on the calendar of like, hey, let's go win there for the first time since 2019, beat our rival, and let's kind of try to right this ship and stack some wins. But like, yeah, I think that's something to pay attention to because I mean they looked very flat in the second half against Arkansas State. They looked great in the first half, at least on offense.
probably when you had play calling that made no sense doing the opposite of what made you successful in the first half. I mean,
Yeah.
it probably had to be frustrating as a play. I mean, just how I would feel that if I was on the field and we're calling plays that just anyways. But yeah, it would be nice to go up there and win and beat Boone or beat out in Boone.
Beat Boone.
Yeah, yeah.
Beat Boone. You know what our defensive stop rate is?
0.
And, we're 127th in the nation, not last. 127th out of 136.
Who's worse than us?
Oklahoma State, Texas State,
Okay,
UL Monroe, Boston College, UAB, Sam Houston, Arkansas, Georgia State, and Air Force. We're 47.5% stop rate.
that's higher than what I thought it would be.
We give up 3.33 points per drive.
I mean, it is. That's terrible. And I
So
think we have like the lowest or one of the lowest sack rates in all of college football.
for sure, yeah,
And one of the lowest pressure rates too. I mean, we don't believe in making the quarterback uncomfortable.
we do not.
And if
We
we
do
try, we leave wide open lanes for them to just run down
run
the field.
straight through. Yeah, see the Fresno State game. Yep. So
go.
yeah, I mean, I guess tying a bow on App. Yeah, you said like don't look great on offense. I think 27 points per game, but again, that doesn't really matter with our defense. So
No, you can throw that out for our defense.
yeah, that's similar to Arkansas State. Everybody sets records against us, right? Rushing records, especially.
Rushing records. Yeah. They haven't been a great rushing team. I think they've averaged about 4.1 yards a game.
Yeah.
Or I'm
That's
sorry,
gonna be
4.1 yards yards per rush this season.
So that'll be 6 or 7.
Yes, so they'll probably be around the 6 or 7 range in this game. Again, it will
They
come
played
down.
two quarterbacks.
They have played 2
Swan,
quarterbacks this
AJ
year.
Cole. Yeah,
I
AJ
don't know
Swan
who
looks
will
to be
start this game.
Yeah, so against Old Dominion, their last game, they played 2 main quarterbacks in Swan and Cole. Cole started the game 19 of 37, only 138 yards,
Yeah.
1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Swan, who started the season for them, played, was a starter for the first couple games at least, then got benched, then they kind of been like platooning or kind of going back and forth. He came in the fourth quarter of that Old Dominion game, made it a game. So the Old Dominion was up 24 to 7. And App State scored 14 points in the fourth quarter with Swan at quarterback. He finished 12 of 16, 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So yeah, so he looks to be kind of the better guy, but that's something to look out for. Yeah, they only had 73 rushing yards against Old Dominion total.
Yeah. Look, everybody seems to be able to run the ball against us. I think it'll just really come down to if we can make them get off the field with 0 points on at least 3 or 4 of their offensive possessions. I think if we can do that, we may have a chance.
Maybe. Honestly, I'm not even like, it doesn't even matter. I don't even think it's worth talking about the defense. Like, again, like it's to me to win this game. Like the defense is going to do what they're going to do. Like okay, if they get a couple stops, if they get a lucky turnover, awesome. But like we know, they're going to break rushing records against us. They're going to,
We have to score on every possession.
They're going to have 400 plus yards. We have to score in every quarter, a touchdown in every quarter. We have to have 4 quarters of consistent offensive play and, maybe not go as far as like score every possession, but again, only 3 points in the second half against Arkansas State. So like if we can get that hot start and then continue that in the second half, I think we can win. If we have a lull and play calling gets inept and all the things, it's going to be a long day in the office.
Yeah, so, if we don't rush for 200 yards, we're going to lose the football game or something like that.
Right.
Just we'll see. We'll see what team shows up for which quarter, for which possession. So, and hopefully we'll show up enough to win. I have nothing else to say.
It's sad. It's a sad state of affairs because again, like this is a game that we're usually excited about, right? It's usually the last game of the season. 2022, we're fighting for bowl eligibility after, a terrible year. 23.
It was to keep them out of a bowl, wasn't it?
It was to keep them out of a bowl for the first time ever. Last year, it was to get our 8th win of the season, keep our division hopes alive, which it did until James Madison
messed that up.
Lost to Marshall. Yeah, messed it up just a couple hours later. So yeah, I mean, honestly, every year there's been kind of a lot to play for. This is really the first year that neither team has a ton to play for. I mean, App is still very much in the bowl hunt more so than we are, but yeah, I mean, it's just it's a sad state of affairs when we're not more excited.
Yeah, honestly, this is just to see who finishes 6th in the division. Whoever loses will finish 6th. Whoever doesn't will probably finish 4th or 5th, and keeps us a small hope of bowl eligibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
it's just it's just sad for what still is, in my opinion, the best rivalry in the Group of 5.
Yeah,
for us not to talk more about it because it's just it's just another game. No,
I agree. It's usually been a game marked with upsets or for the division or to keep somebody out of a bowl game, and this year it just feels flat.
It
really does.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see what App says about it too. They might feel the same way, but anyway, well,
yeah.
With that, Cody, we'll pick it up one way or another. We'll have a conversation one way or another, either about the game or continue the discussion of where we go from here. But with that, no matter the result, it's always the same message, and that's Hail Southern.
Hail Southern.
Man,